Hello everyone, and welcome to this session in iMoot 15. With us we have Ben Wagner talking about how to increase sales with an LMS. Ben has been presenting at the iMoot since 2012. Is an expert in all things Moodle and is currently working for the Moodle partner WebEx. Thank you for your time today, Ben, and hope everyone enjoys the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny, and a big thank you to you and all the team, because I know how much time and strange hours you guys will have to put in to keep the iMoot running, so thanks for that. I hope everyone can hear me okay. If I drop out or anything, just say it in the chat and I'll keep an eye on that and make sure I respond. A heads up for you all first, I'm based in the UK and I've just flown back from the States at lunchtime today, so if I get a bit off track or sound a bit sleepy, that's why I'm quite majorly jet lagged this afternoon. But hopefully I can keep everything going together for you and give you a bit of an overview of the topic. So I'll start with just an overview of what I'm trying to do with this presentation. For those, as Vinny said, I've been presenting at the iMoot for quite a few years now and been working with Moodle for quite a long time. And a lot of that work has been in what I call traditional LMS deployments. So things like schools, universities, businesses, where you're training your staff, you're training your students, you're training your faculty, whatever that is. And you're trying to complete compliance training, you're trying to teach them a subject, to get a GCSE or an A-level or something like that. However, over the last couple of years, I've been working a lot more with clients who are looking at non-traditional approaches to learning, where they're using learning to drive other parts of their business and hence increase sales. And when I was kind of having a think of what to present this year, I just thought, I'm not saying it's completely cutting edge, but it's not something everyone knows about or people have even heard that you can use Moodle for. And I thought for some of you guys who obviously come to iMoots and are interested in this sort of thing, it might be of interest just to hear a little bit about some of the things I've been up to and some of the kind of sectors we use. So I'll kick off with a brief who am I, for those who haven't met me before or heard of me. So as Vinny said, I'm Ben Wagner. I work for Web Anywhere in the UK, who's one of the Moodle partners. I've worked with Moodle itself for 5 or 6 years now. I started off working for a charity that did e-learning, and I used Moodle as a tutor, and then moved into working in a school as their e-learning consultant. And then from there, moved on to Web Anywhere, starting in the secondary and high school education teams. And then over the last few years, moved into actually a content marketing function for a while, around Moodle advice and blog posts and that sort of thing. And then from there, moved into our workplace learning division, which is where I still am now, a couple of years later. And I work with all sorts of clients, from tiny little SMEs up to massive, huge multinationals, doing all sorts of projects, including internal compliance and, as you said, LMS for sales generation and for lead generation. What I've done is, obviously with a lot of things kind of in the industry with NDAs and contracts and all the rest of it, I can't just kind of reveal to you any company's top secrets. So what I've done is I've collected my experience over the last couple of years working with these companies and pulled it into more generic examples. So I'll talk you through the topic, how it's been applied, but obviously you'll understand if I can't give you the name and phone numbers of people at these companies. So yeah, sorry for anyone who's expecting some juicy gossip from inside a company. Right at the end, all my contact details, email address. I'm on Twitter a lot. That's probably the quickest way to get hold of me. So if after the talk, or if you're watching this on YouTube later, so hello from the past. And if you do want to get in touch with me, always have to have a chat. Just drop me an email or send me a tweet. So to kick off, the first section of using an LMS for sales is for lead generation. So for those of you without a sales background, a lead is a common sales term for someone who's shown an interest. So in classic terms, they've logged onto your website and filled in a contact form. They've emailed their info address. They've come to a conference and come to your stand at a trade show. That's what we call a sales lead. That's that sort of thing. Now, you've probably used kind of training for lead generation in products you've used without really realizing it. So one of the common things is if you sign up for something like Google Apps or even Twitter itself, there's lots of training material out there trying to teach you how these things work and encouraging you to spend more. So one of the key things with training for lead generation is to start with a free access model. All the packages I look at, either the whole model is free, or they at least start with a free access model. So you can sign in, you can get some training, whether that's you can get to some of the training, or whether that's you can get to all of the training for 30 days, that sort of thing. And if you look at companies like Lynda.com is a good example. If you look at them, that's the sort of thing they do. You know, you can sign up, get a free trial. If you go to a trade show, then they have your details to talk to you about signing up for a more permanent package. Now, the good thing is with training is you're not trying to persuade someone they really need the product initially. You're just trying to persuade someone it's a good idea to sign up. Now, that might be to sign up for actual training, but often it's to actually sign up for some training on a product you then wish to sell them. So a lot of time when I'm doing kind of due diligence and I'm working on, looking at different software we might use to speed things up in our business, the first thing I do is go to the help section, go to the training section, start to have a look around there. And if I could sign up for like a webinar and sign up for a big blue button session with the guys from that company, that's a really good way of me getting a feel for how they do training and how that sort of thing works. And obviously, the more you can get someone into your kind of ecosystem and get used to it, the better it is. Now, in terms of using an LMS, as opposed to just having kind of a website with some training videos on, the good thing is it's a really good way of doing tracking and marketing based on that tracking. You can see what people have interacted with through the logs. You can see things they've responded to, do little pop-up surveys. You can use SCORM packages and track their interactions with SCORM or with Tin Can. And using all of that, you can then generate a picture of what sort of person is that. Are they signing up for courses on one of your products or on all of your products or on one product in the finance sector? So you could market them another product in the finance sector. And you can start to get a feel for, given this person, what sort of training they're interested in and what sort of things might be good for the sales and marketing teams to go after. The other thing it's really good for is getting brand loyalty and goodwill. So that's a key thing with companies these days. Everyone's going on about, you want brand loyalty, you want high levels of goodwill with your clients, you want people to really be invested in your brand. And if they know you've got really, really good training, that's a part of that process. They know it's easy to find. You can easily get hold of some information. You can sign up for a little introduction course. And a lot of the companies we work with are trying to take their very static, here's a help page with some information, into a much more interactive LMS experience where it feels more like you're doing a course or a MOOC or something to that effect, but you're using it to generate leads for your business. The other thing that can be really good with training for lead generation is obscure product lines. So if you take the example of like a finance company, if you're working with a finance company that has this really amazing product that's really, really good at tax returns for high earners in the EU market, because it knows all the rules, it can do this sort of thing. Trying to get that to the right people is quite tricky. If you've got some training up about tax returns in the EU market generally, and as a part of that training explains how your relatively obscure tool does those returns, then you can start to generate leads. People go, actually, I just came to look for some general information, but that product would do what I needed to do. That would solve my immediate problem. So in terms of lead generation, that's kind of how you can build those leads based on doing some training with your soon-to-be end users. And this feeds in nicely to product promotion. You've got them a bit interested, you've got them coming on as a lead, but you don't want to call them up cold because they flicked on one video. You want to promote your product, get them interested, and that sort of thing. So there's a few kind of ways you can do this. The most common way is with examples of best usage, case studies, sort of the kind of thing I'm running you through now, a few little examples from the industry. A good example of this, if you look on like our website or Web Anywhere, we've got loads of case studies of people we've worked with. It's just a good way of promoting what you're doing with your products. Now, what you can do with the LMS side of things is actually make those interactive case studies. So I see good examples where it will say, for instance, you're looking to solve this problem. Do you want to go to option A or option B in a kind of interactive way? And they say option B, and you say, well, actually, that isn't 100% correct, because if you look at option A, that's what company one did, and they found it went really well for these reasons. So it's kind of it is a case study, but it's not really presented as here's a PDF of a case study. It's being presented as here's some useful information, and it's done interactively. Really good ways of doing that with interactive videos. You can interview clients, you could interview the key product owners, interview your own technical staff. It's always nice for the techies to be allowed out of their boxes occasionally. Saying that as a techie, so no one shoot me. And it's that sort of thing. Let them be online and do interactive videos. Move that into SCORM packages and tin can packages where you can have quizzes interlaced with videos, interlaced with examples and narration and all that sort of thing. And make it a really cohesive experience for a user so that they really get a feel for what you guys are about, how you've helped other businesses, what's been the kind of ROI, and how your product could fit their niche. And hopefully that will then lead to an increase in sales. The other thing it can help with in terms of product promotion is customers you already have. So a lot of companies, it's very common these days, you might have a plethora of products, or you have bronze, silver, gold models, or you have different features that can be turned on and off. And I look at Moodle. Moodle's a good example of this. Moodle's got thousands of features. Most users probably use 10% of them. You don't know all the little random features that are going on in the background in Moodle. Now, if you've got really good training, or in Moodle's case, really good documentation, thanks to the team who work on that, it's really easy to drive that sort of promotion. So kind of extending the Moodle example, as it's one we all know, if instead of just having Moodle docs, if you log on to Moodle and here's a little SCORM package that pops up and it goes, hey, have you seen this feature? Boom, ba-dum, ba-dum. It's the sort of thing that Moodle HQ do really well with the new release videos, if you ever watched any of them. They're nice, they're concise, they're very clearly presented. And you can then to start building little bits of kind of gamification around that, a little bit of question and answers to drive that usage up as a product promotion tool. And that can help with customer retention, that can help customers innovate with your products. And I've even seen situations where they've come back to the parent company and gone, well, actually, based on this package you sent to us that we trained on, have you thought about changing this feature in this way? Because that would serve X, Y, and Z need. And it can help your innovation teams actually develop your products because you're getting direct feedback from the clients who are doing training and giving you that advice and guidance on what they think would work. And again, you can thread tracking through all of this, whether you do it with something like Google Analytics or various of the Adobe suites do this, or we're looking at clients who are doing this with the Tin Can API because the verbiage for that is very extended. You can be using that to track the interactions with the pages, particularly if you're using things like SCORM packages, and that can help you track how people are going through the product training, if certain pages have bounce rates, what's going on. And often you need to take a holistic approach and look at the leads that are coming in, look at the Tin Can statements, look at the API responses, and look at things like Google Analytics. And you can start to get a nice big picture of people who take this training are 15% more likely to actually then buy a product, or if they get to section 4, they tend to then finish because section 4 is a tricky one. And you can really get a feel for kind of how customers kind of come onto your products. Now, to take a slight sidestep in terms of driving sales, the other thing to look at is actually training as a product. I mentioned lynda.com earlier, that's the very famous one, and you can see the value of that because LinkedIn have just snapped it up for a huge amount of money. So clearly not the only people that think training is a good business to be in. But we've worked with a lot of people who are selling training modules. So, they've got a module on VAT returns, and you sign up and you pay $50 for the module on VAT returns, and you get the training to that, which is an LMS driving up your sales. Or you can do the all-you-can-eat model, which is very common with services like Lynda, Netflix for films. Is that sort of you sign up so much a month as a recurring payment, and you get access to everything you want. What's nice with that as well when you're doing training as a product is it then isn't very hard to segue into training in a live sense as a product. So someone's used to turning up a kind of a la carte, buying some SCORM content or video content on your website, and using Moodle with plugins on top or an e-commerce link in, which is very easy to do these days to do that. And then as part of that promotion, you then schedule some in-person training. They're so used to signing up and know your training is high quality, they can say, well, right, the guy who builds all our training is going to be at this conference. Do you want to pay $200 to come and have a bespoke training session in person with the guy who you've been doing all his videos online and really like what he does? It's kind of like when we'll get to meet Mary, the world famous Moodle fairy who does all the really good launch videos. We're used to her. We know she's really good. We know she does really good launch videos. So if you get the chance to actually meet her, that's a big deal. And that can be a way you can use your online LMS training portal to then actually drive sales of other products like in-person training, because people get used to your quality standard. They know your high quality training, and they are then interested in coming to your live training, coming to your webinars, coming to your MOOCs, or whatever the other products you're trying to pitch there as well. Now, there's a couple of other kind of related facets I want to take you guys through. So the next up is engagement and recruitment, and we sort of touched on this a little bit, but just to kind of explain some of the kind of incidental uses we've seen. These often aren't the focus of projects I work on, but sometimes they're ones that people kind of go, well, actually, after we deployed this, we found X, Y, and Z happen. So I just wanted to kind of pull these out for you guys, particularly if you want to, justify to senior management or something that you want a project. This can be a good way of looking at it as well. So a key thing in terms of engagement first is keeps customers engaged. It's the worst thing ever is if you're trying to do something in a product and you can't find it, and you turn to Google and start Googling it, and you find a competitor's product does that feature really well. They're going to go, well, actually, I'm going to go over there and look at that product. That looks really interesting. And you almost begin to lose them as a customer there purely because they couldn't figure out how to do something that possibly your product does really well already. Now, if you can answer that and have really good training, and anything they want to find, they can get on the training portal, they can take a little quiz, get a little certificate, get an open badge, all these things. That keeps them engaged, keeps focused just on your product, so they're not looking at other products to see if they can meet the need elsewhere, and keeps the the likelihood of them coming back, then repeat subscriptions or repeat purchasing goes up the more kind of training and engagement you do with them. The other related side to the engagement is, I know it won't translate everywhere, what we call in the UK someone who's a fence sitter. So they're sat halfway between the yes, I'll buy it, and no, I won't, and they're sort of undecided. And they're sat there going, oh, I don't really know if this will do what I want. And your site's got loads of really great SCORM packages on it, and they're like, well, actually, I'll take some SCORM packages and I'll see. And when they do those packages, they're like, wow, this is really easy to use. I really get the hang of it. It's so simple. I've done an hour's training and I pretty feel confident with the software. I haven't even bought it yet. That gives them the confidence to then go out and purchase it, or to go and pitch to senior management and say, look, only took me an hour. I've done other SCORM packages. It's really, really good. It looks really clear. Look, I'll send you the link. You have a go. See if you like it. And they go, oh, yeah, no, that was really easy to use. Sounds really simple. Cool. Well, then let's buy the software. And it can really help you get those people to move over when you're kind of not so sure that they're going to engage. Now, related to that is getting into markets early. So this is something the big tech giants try really hard with schools in particular. So if you look at companies like Google and Apple, there's lots of programs they do for schools. Microsoft do as well, not to forget them. You can get things Office 365 or Google Apps for schools for free. You can just sign up and get it. They do various things with the hardware. We can get cheap hardware for schools. All three companies do that. And the key reason for them doing that, aside from all the, we hope they're very nice, lovely, ethical companies that want to be nice and friendly and charitable, the real reason is that they want people to get used to using the infrastructure. If you get kids used to using iPads at school when they get their first job, what tablet are they going to buy? They're not then going to go and buy a Galaxy tablet. They're going to buy an iPad because they've used an iPad for 5 years. Equally, if you go to a school and they use Google Apps all the time, and you decide to set up your own small business, or do what I do and join a business and go, why don't you use Google Apps? It's really great. I've used it for years. I know how it all works. I can set it up. Really, really simple. Let's do it. And it's that sort of thing those big tech companies are doing that you guys can also do with a Moodle LMS. You can say, right, we'll do all this training and we'll give away free training licenses to uni students, or any school that applies to to get our software gets it half off and all the training's included and things like that. And the more you can do that and you can capture those markets early, particularly there's an example I'm thinking of specifically with an engineering company who started launching all their training at universities, because then when those students graduated and became engineers, the first people they thought of were the guys who gave them loads of good training at university, helped them through their exams and helped them learn more. So by getting kind of yourself engaged with those what we call kind of nascent markets, where you're not really going to sell anything directly to people like students very often, But it could be a really good way of, as those people a couple of years down the line join the workforce, you've then got kind of brand advocates in all these companies going, well, actually, I'm fresh out, and the latest idea is that everyone wants to use this product. So why don't we go down that route? So it's just kind of another way of using your training or using your training product to drive that sort of engagement with different markets and markets you may not have looked at yet. Now, the other side is recruitment. On the one hand, it can help you weed out or get better recruits when you're looking for new staff. If you've got a big company training portal and loads of documentation and stuff, and it's public access, it's totally, I believe, totally legitimate to say, you come for an interview with us, go on the training portal, have a look around, do some of the training, and let us know if you have any questions in the interview. And partly you can track that. You can see if they have engaged. And by the quality of the questions, you can see like what sort of candidates have really spent some time on the training and have really got an idea of, what the company's about, what the software's about. And particularly when you're hiring people like sales staff who have to be confident with it, have they got to a decent level of confidence before they've even started the company because your training was that good? So when they come in on day one, everything's not alien. On day one, they're like, oh yeah, no, remember, I did this on the web portal. I get what the software does, and they just need a bit of polish. The other side of it these days is, particularly in technology, there are 1,001 tech firms. Any of us who work in IT and tech-related fields know there's hundreds of different firms doing hundreds of different things. And competition for the best candidates is really, really fierce. It's really hard to make sure you get the top-notch candidate that you want. Now, one of the things people look at, and I admit when I was coming to Revenue, it was the thing I looked at, and it's the thing I look at whenever I look at a job spec these days, is the organisation a learning organisation? Give examples like at work, we have learning lunches where we share ideas, we go out for training, we train each other. I'm a Moodle expert, so I'll often do training with the teams who aren't so good at Moodle, bring them up to speed on that. They'll show me the software they work with, so I get to know about that. And, we just share that knowledge, and we're a learning organisation. And if you're doing a project with an LMS for sales, for external staff, that can also double up as a product database for your internal staff. If you're willing to train your clients on how the software works, then you can pretty much train your internal staff on the same platform. You don't have to buy two different platforms. You might want a separate platform for things like compliance training and health and safety training, but for product knowledge, you may as well use the same one you've developed for the sales team to go out and sell. And I think it'd be really nice for getting the best candidates, but also in terms of ensuring those candidates stayed engaged. If someone's getting a bit bored or have a slow day, if you've got this portal up, they can jump on there, do some training, maybe find a new product feature they didn't know about, something like that, and it just encourages you to be a sort of learning organisation, really. What I wanted to do as part of this as well is my background, as I mentioned, was traditional academics, schools and universities. And a lot of people probably have spotted this speech gone, okay, this is all for kind of business people and sales. This has nothing to do with schools and universities. I'll stay away. So I'm hoping some of them stumble across it, or you guys can tell them about it. And I wanted to link some of this into what schools and universities do, just to show you that it's not just a sales side. You can also do this with schools and universities, but also there might be other functions in your business that I don't even know about that these kind of suggestions would apply to. So it's just to give you a bit more kind of a scope for this talk, really. So with schools in particular, one of the things when I worked in a school and when I hear from colleagues who still do work in schools is trying to train your parents. Maybe you launch a new integration with their SIM system and they can get all their student data out, but do any of them know how to use it? Probably not. Well, if you gave them logins to your Moodle LMS that you use in school, put up some training guides and said, look, here guys, play through these videos and training guides, you'll get a feel for the software. Maybe you're trying to encourage them to, book correctly for parents' evening, fill in letters correctly. One of the things that I've heard a lot is when you get new parents, so they start in kind of first year of high school or even younger than that at primary school, how do they know all the processes? You give them a big book and you give them a handbook that has, here's how you pay for lunch, here's how you top up your contactless card, here's all the emergency numbers, here's all the, and it's just huge amounts of data these parents have got to take. Now, wouldn't that be better as courses on the LMS? They can sign up, you can give them an account, they can do these courses, they can remain there. So if they look back and go, I can't remember what the emergency contact number was, my kid's not well, go to the emergency contact course, play straight through it again and get a feel for where the information is and find the right data. So I think for parents particularly, training them on the processes, training them on the rules, and for attracting new parents in a very kind of salesy way. A lot of schools now, particularly in places in the UK where they've broken up the local authority groups, schools are in competition. There's a lot of school places appearing. People want you to go to their school. They want the funding. So if you're the sort of school that says to parents, from day one, we're not going to give you a big book of rules, we're going to give you a training portal so you can learn along with your students, I think that's really great. It's a good advert for the school, shows you're technology focused. And as well as that, it means that parents aren't going to be worried, in this day and age, are you a school that doesn't really get tech? If the main way you communicate with your parents is through technology as well. And you can then, as they get used to using it, you can even use things like the messaging tools and things like that to bulk message people, get information out to them, that sort of thing. So there's a lot you can kind of do with an LMS in the school other than traditional classroom learning. The other side, kind of related to what I was saying about training your sales teams, is staff CPD. A lot of people forget that schools are employers. They have staff. They've got to train those staff. They've got to do compliance training. They've got to do all sorts of training with their teachers and their lecturers. Why not just do it on the same Moodle you use for the students? Why worry about deploying a different system? Use the same portal. You'll train up your teachers. And also, it can be a real help for getting those teachers and lecturers who might be a little bit kind of technology fearful, aren't very confident using Moodle. If they're doing training as part of their CPD that they kind of have to do, it's a job objective, they're just going to get more used to using Moodle. They get more used to how a really nice activity looks. And hopefully that will give them ideas when they're creating courses on Moodle and they're trying to get a feel. Even if they come to IT, they can come to IT and go, well, do you remember the course you guys put up about health and safety in the workplace? I want to do something like that for GCSE history. That's the sort of course I'm trying to aim at. So please can you give me a hand? And it gives them a bit more confidence, and they start to talk the language of Moodle and they start to understand a bit more about how it works. And it's that the same concept as trying to train up your sales staff. If your teachers don't know Moodle, they're not going to be great at using Moodle. Equally, if your sales staff don't know your products, they're not going to be great at selling your products. It's simple from a sales point of view, but it's the side of teachers that you may not have looked at. And exactly the same with big businesses. If you're trying to recruit people, it's brilliant for helping recruitment. It's great for seeing which people have spent an interest, have signed up, done some courses, got a feel for things. Come into the interview and go, oh no, I see you as an LMS for training parents. That's really interesting. What led you to that decision? And that sort of candidate's the one you want to hire. It gives you a nice way of seeing how engaged they are and how interested they are in the school. The other side, which is really useful, I find particularly for places like universities, is prospectuses. We all have prospectuses and company brochures and that sort of thing. And a lot of them have gone online and they're kind of PDFs and stuff now. But you can actually make a really nice interactive prospectus using something like a SCORM package on Moodle. So they sign up and they take on sort of virtual tour of the university, talks about the different departments. They can use the navigation within SCORM to jump to a department they're interested in. Maybe there's a video introduction by the head of department, a tour around the department of various pictures. And you can make a really nice interactive prospectus and almost like a mini open day, but done online. So if you're thinking about universities now, with a lot of competition internationally for universities, there might be students who can't afford to fly out for an open day, but might do this kind of online prospectus open day, get a feel for your university and how you guys teach and what you're about, and then actually apply to your university on the back of that. So you can do that the same way you're trying to lead generate into a sales-oriented business. Schools and universities are trying to lead generate these days. You're trying to get people interested enough that they apply to your school or college or your university, and then they attend, and you get the funding or the fees depending on the funding structure in your country. So a lot of the lessons I've kind of gone on through about sales companies just applied directly to schools and universities as well. And I just kind of wanted to highlight that a little bit because it gets sometimes lost and people think, workplace learning is one thing over here, that's with sales and that happens there. And then what we do in schools, that's totally different. And I think it works both ways. One of the common things I go out to big businesses to say, is go and talk to local high schools and secondary schools. Some of them will be using Moodle. Go and talk to them and see what they're doing. Because often schools are on the cutting edge of using new features and new tools. And we've had some really nice partnerships develop between businesses and their schools where they go, actually, we heard these guys were doing online webinars all the time, so we're going to do that now. Or we heard they've got really interactive videos, it's driven up student retention, so we're going to try that. So there's lots of kind of different ways that you can use that to drive up engagement in a school and university as well. So that's it for the formal content. I've got some time for a Q&A if anyone wants to jump on and yell at me or fire something into the chat. But equally, if not, my email address and Twitter handle are on there. They're nice and simple. And this presentation is a PDF on the main course as well, so you can download that with my details in as well. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me afterwards, feel free. Drop me an email, send me a tweet. I'm on both pretty much 24/7, as much as my wife would rather I wasn't. So you can always get hold of me and have a chat. I'm always happy to talk through kind of things I've gone through today or anything else that comes up. And you just fancy a chat about Moodle, that's always okay by me. So hopefully that was useful. If anyone has a question, holler now, and if not, I'll hand back over to Vinny.
Just a couple of seconds. If you had any questions for you? I don't want to stop it. It's a good opportunity for me to jump in and again say thank you very much, Ben. Lots of thought-provoking content there. So I'd like to go and have another listen to the presentation. Thank you for presenting again at this year's iMoot, and thank you for participating. And if you do have any questions, please, if you want to, chat or grab the microphone. Or don't forget there's forums for every course go along with the presentation. You can carry on the conversations there. So once again, thank you very much, Ben.
Thanks, Vinny. It's been a pleasure as always, and thank you to everyone who attended. Hopefully it's been useful. As I said, anything comes up, as Vinny said, forum, message me, tweet me, email me. You can even call our office number if you really want. It's totally up to you. Always happy to talk. And hopefully I'll be back for 2016 as well.
We'll be happy to have you back again. Okay, thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of the iMoot.
Thanks, Vinny. Best of luck.